some more practical details. We were just praying about it, just talking through resting and responding. I think it's a really good opportunity, kind of what I piggyback on what I said about from Mike, making Jesus look beautiful to our congregation because we're resting in him. I think that can help us as far as our stage presence. If you haven't noticed over the last couple of Thursdays, our stage at the new building is a little bit bigger than the Hawfields one that we've been very thankful for using, of course. Just a little bit. I think one of the great things to look forward to is hopefully not feeling all the cables and whatnot that are around you when you walk. You don't have to always be as concerned about trip hazards. We have a little bit.
Pulling something over.
Yeah, exactly. We are more on the wireless side, which is much more helpful for us. So, with this new stage and having all this room, we need to start thinking of our kind of spot as more of a square or an area to kind of move around in, to praise in, rather than like an X to just kind of stand on, or a little couple of feet to be able to move around. So we got a little bit more space. You'll see me, I kind of had a reputation a little bit in previous places of being a little more of a walker, so I'll be a little bit more of a walker. Nathan's also a walker, apparently.
Just get me off an instrument.
Yeah.
He's ready to run.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Run the aisles.
Even if you've got, if your bass and you're wired in, or you're an electric player, you're wired in. John, you have to move anyways, but you can't necessarily physically relocate. You still have a little more leeway as far as our space and not feeling so confined, which will be great. Also, when we come to think about our worship gatherings, Summit Worship has a great way of thinking about it, and they think about it in terms of Christ exalting excellence in all that we do. This is the next one coming up. Here we go. We want to pursue Christ exalting excellence in all we do. And in this pursuit, we want to limit distractions as much as we can. We can't be perfect at that, so we can't always, beat ourselves over the head if there is something that causes a distraction. But that also includes what we wear on stage. I've kind of alluded to this over the last few weeks or months of the game changes a little bit when there's a camera on you. Bethany Delp came up to me after our rehearsal on Thursday where we did a little bit more of like a run through of a service. And she said, it was really weird seeing your face, like physically, like you were right there, but then you were right there. And I was like, I don't know how to take that. Yeah, exactly. I'm not sure. Was this complimentary or not? I don't know. But in thinking about that, Summit Worship has some great guidelines for worship team wardrobe. We want to be casually dressed, but also professional. You don't necessarily have to look like you're going for an interview after the service, but at the same time, you didn't walk out with the pajamas on, So there's a in between, some middle ground of being casual and professional at the same time. Modest, above reproach, and then a good refresher for some of these guidelines. Maybe for some of you haven't heard it in these exact terms, but let's see, is this on the next one? No, it's not. For men, we will not have open-toed shoes while serving on Sundays. No open-toed shoes. So leave your Crocs, or what are they called, Birkenstocks at home? Chacos, yeah, there you go. Ladies, y'all, we really haven't had issues with this, which is great. Always consider the length of your dress and skirt, going for the knee length, and then the cut and length of your shirt. I have been in situations before where a lady wore a shirt that was just a little bit too short. And how did I handle it? Praise God, there were some wonderful ladies that were on my team, one of which was on my leadership team, that I said, hey, I didn't pass it off because, followed up, but I was like, can you please point this out and let's try to figure out something together. And I think someone had like a jacket that lended to her, and we were good.
It's always good to have some extra like Summit t-shirts on hand.
It's always good to have, yeah, it's very true. And then a great one for all of us is, I call it the praise test or the worship test. When I'm trying on a new shirt, I always try to lift up. And if any skin is showing, like, all right.
Can't wear that one.
Or, if I know a shirt is going to be a little bit shorter, I'll wear like a undershirt underneath it that's roughly the same color, just to try and make it not so clear to the eye. So all of us, though, this isn't an issue. No shorts, no tank tops worn while we're serving on Sundays. The summer is coming. Save those guys for the pool, just not on Sunday morning. Okay? You'll notice a lot of my clothes kind of are like this. There's not like a hard like, oh Jesus, looking back at you. I try to do that on purpose because when it comes to emblems, like if there is a little something right here, that's fine. But like you're saying, if there's a big graphic, for instance, there was a guy when I lived in Orlando that came in wearing a shirt that was like, it was like a Vans shirt, which Vans alone, not a problem, but it was like this whole thing. And I was like, oh, my guy. That's going to be rough. Because the entire time, especially if there's cameras like in our situation, if the camera goes to that person, suddenly I'm looking at the artwork that some other person did, years ago, thinking about it. So when it comes to graphic tees, let's not do them. Unless it is a summit thing where it's like summit worship, that's fine. But when it comes to like Nike, like we don't need to see, just do it.
Is there a specific color palette that we should stick to?
Darker tones are always great. Darker tones are always great. I would say when it comes to a camera, like really bold colors don't always transfer great into a camera shot. Here's a great example. I made the mistake one time of wearing a shirt that had a pattern that was pretty tight, like it was kind of a, what's it called?
Pinstripe?
Yeah, like maybe a pinstripe would be close enough. And they grabbed me after the service was done and were like, hey, please don't wear that again. Because what happens is for the frame rate of the cameras, it causes you to just look like everything's moving and fuzzing and moving around. So even when I'm standing still, my shirt is not. So we're going to need...
You're on TV and they're blurring you.
Exactly. Yes. So it's like, why?
Yeah.
We need to be just aware of that in terms of the patterns of things that we get and wear on a Sunday morning. So even with that pattern, even if you throw a jacket over it, whatever is exposed will still show up.
A lot of times stripes are like
Stripes are
big,
really hard.
Are big, like for the cameras and especially the LED walls.
Yeah.
Like they will mess with that system.
Just to recap, no open-toed shoes for the men. Ladies, just always be cognizant of the cut. No tank tops, no shorts. And when it comes to emblems and graphic tees, let's keep them as like teeny tiny as possible. Did I cover everything? Because again, we want to try and limit distractions. Would I miss one?
No skin.
Yeah, no skin. None of that. Fully covered. When it comes to just limiting distractions, that is a new component for us moving into where there's a camera and not, oh, I see so-and-so way over there. They're wearing a shirt and I can't tell what it is. You'll be able to tell what it is. Okay? Cool. Let's talk about rehearsal times. So, some of our flow has changed just a little bit. This will be on, our Thursday evenings. You'll see that we have had that vocals rehearsal, and I think that vocals rehearsal has been super helpful. Is that fair? Vocals?
Yep.
See a nod? Been helpful?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. it's been-
Taylor, we haven't quite seen it yet, but
Yes.
yes. We will meet in the green room from 6:30 till just before 7, running through vocals. And then 6:30 is still going to be our start time for everybody. But band, that's an opportunity for you guys to come in with your instruments, get everything set, make sure, line checks, they're getting what you're playing. They can maybe ask you to play for a little bit and get some EQ on your instruments. And then also get a chance to get your ears together in order, which is wonderful. And then 7 o'clock, Caleb and I have enjoyed having the team come together and pray over the evening for each other for the weekend. And I believe we're going to want to keep doing that moving forward. So 7 will be our time for us to gather together on the stage. This speaks to two things. And I didn't have these in our slides, but Summit has a saying, we pray first, second, and third. The reason we say that is because prayer is a huge priority for us. Speaks right into that personal holiness conversation we had a little bit earlier. Speaks right into our dependence and confidence on Him, not our own abilities. And then there's another little phrase I like to use. Apart from Him, we can do nothing. Apart from him, we can do nothing. And no, that is not my own phrase. You will recognize that immediately. That is the Lord's. That's a great one. Apart from him, we can do nothing. Okay, and then 7:15 or so, we'll start rehearsal. And we have extended out to where it's a little bit later in the evening, calling it quits around 8:30. Okay? Let's go to Sunday morning. So, Sunday morning, 7 o'clock, we'll get started. Our parking for volunteers is going to be behind the fire department. So, kind of how we've been doing over the past several weeks. It's going to be the same Sunday morning. When it comes to Thursday nights, soon when we have that CO, we will be able to park closer to like the green room and stuff and just come in that way. So you won't have to be all the way out there and walk in and out. So we will rehearse kind of similar to how we already do, 7:15 to 8. Planning to do our talk through the morning at 8, and then our run through from 8:10 to 8:35, and then break. Okay, any questions for that first bit? Again, kind of similar to how we've already been doing it. Let's go to a new piece for us, the green room. Yay, the green room. Has anyone had a green room before? Yeah, not that. That doesn't count. Green room is kind of either a new thing or it's been a little while since you've had one, because we have not really had one at Hawfields. A big piece for me as far as the green room is concerned, even as an introvert, this isn't where we hide. Shepherds aren't helpful to their sheep if they are not close by. Now, does that mean I'm going to be standing there with a timer? No, of course not. But my hope and intention is, especially with the whole conversation about shepherding, is I've just seen too many gifted people in worship sacrifice or choose to sit on the sideline when it comes to ministry opportunities outside of an instrument in their hand. And a lot of that does center around a green room. Green rooms, again, are great. It's a great time for us to rest, kind of refresh ourselves from the morning, but it's not necessarily a place for us to like just sit the entire time and then come back out when it's time for the response, or sit in there in between services, and then it's time to go out for the second service. I want to throw something out to y'all just to hear your thoughts on it. I think none of this would be mandatory by any means, but an optional thing for us. Maybe first service, we decide kind of sit in and be a part of the service. And then second could be an opportunity for us to come together during the sermon and maybe walk through a book together, or kind of do a little more intentional prayer. There's a great book that a couple of guys on the staff have been walking through, and Mike mentioned it multiple times, from J.C. Ryle, Holiness, that I'd love for us to sit and go through. The chapters are like maybe a couple of pages. They're not very long, but they are good. And so, again, that'd be optional. If your family usually goes to second service, totally fine. Just if people would be open to doing that in second service, I feel like that'd be a good time for us to sit and walk through.
What does that look like with people being on different weeks?
I think I would probably do like, I'd send, specifically for Holiness, I'd send like, here's the chapter we're reading. And then that week we're going to discuss it on the Sunday. Keeping up with our practicals here. So we talked about that passage in Matthew 9. And this is something, I think we've all kind of joked about from time to time. But I want us to just mentally, spiritually, emotionally be prepared when there's new folks that join the team, that when they start attending in June, probably won't feel it as much. But if they're folks that have been a part of the campus for years and just never served from a worship standpoint, I know that there can be a temptation, because I'll have to fight it myself, of going, okay, well, we got the new stage, now here you are, and we don't know what the reasoning is. I just want us to kind of prepare ourselves for thinking less in terms of the backstory, less in terms of, well, why haven't you done until now? But more of, hey, the harvest is plentiful and the laborers are few. and the Lord sent us another laborer. We talked about that. North Durham opened their building, last year, a year ago. And they said they had to fight a little bit of that within the team of just going, well, where were you? Where were you in these days, But looking less in terms of, trying to figure out the backstory and more towards, hey, they've said yes. They put their yes on the table now. We're happy to have them aboard. So just prepare because it's going to happen.